A single line in Star Trek Generations made Janeway an admiral before Captain Picard. One line in Star Trek Generations explains why Captain Picard, Patrick Stewart, remains a captain when Star Trek Voyager's Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, becomes a Starfleet admiral. Star Trek Generations opens with Captain James T. Kirk's William Shatner publicity tour of the USS Enterprise B when a distress call pushes Captain John Harriman, Alan Ruck, to cede command to Kirk. Harriman's concession echoes earlier movies when then Admiral Kirk took command of the Enterprise from USS Enterprise Captains Will Decker, Stephen Collins. In Star Trek, the motion picture, and Spock, Leonard Nimoy in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. 8 years after Generations, a Star Trek Nemesis cameo reveals that Star Trek Voyager's Catherine Janeway has been promoted to Vice Admiral just 1 year after returning the USS Voyager to the Alpha Quadrant. The USS Voyager was Janeway's first command, suggesting that Janeway spent only 8 years as a captain. In 2379, when Star Trek Nemesis takes place, Picard spent 15 years captaining 2 USS Enterprises and 22 years as captain of the USS Stargazer before that. Janeway absolutely deserves her promotion after Voyager's harrowing 70,000 light-year journey, but it's surprising that Picard hasn't also been promoted. Kirk's advice to Picard in Star Trek Generations kept Picard a captain longer. In Star Trek Generations, James Kirk's sage advice that keeps Jean-Luc Picard a captain longer is, don't let them promote you. By the time Picard meets Kirk in the Timeless Nexus, Picard has already been a starship captain for decades, with no plans to retire. Kirk insists on Picard remaining a captain because Kirk's personal experience as a Starfleet admiral was more frustrating than prestigious. Admiral Kirk kept finding ways to skirt regulations and regain command, including stealing the Enterprise. Kirk's demotion to captain at the end of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, was more reward than punishment. Let me tell you something. Don't retire. Don't let them promote you. Don't let them transfer you. Don't let them do anything that takes you off the bridge of that ship, because while you're there, you can make a difference. Jean-Luc Picard remained a captain for the better part of a decade, so it's reasonable to assume that Picard took Kirk's advice. Picard captained the USS Enterprise E through the 2370s and accepted a promotion to Admiral in 2381. Admiral Picard found ways he could still make a difference, like funding the Independent Archaeologists Guild and spearheading Starfleet's efforts to evacuate Romulus before 2387's Romulan supernova. Picard only faced the challenges that Kirk cautioned against later in Star Trek Picard. Like Kirk before him, Admiral Picard was only able to command a starship temporarily, and with a reasonable excuse. Admiral Janeway proves Kirk's advice is wrong in Star Trek Prodigy. In Star Trek Prodigy, Admiral Catherine Janeway proves that Kirk's Star Trek Generations advice about refusing promotions is wrong. Admiral Janeway's command of the USS Dauntless and USS Voyager A show that being an admiral doesn't keep a Starfleet officer off the bridge of a starship, as Kirk feared. Instead of doling out missions like in Star Trek Nemesis, Admiral Janeway leads a mission to locate the missing Captain Chakotay, Robert Beltran. Janeway's example as a leader redefines the job of Starfleet Admiral as one that can, in fact, actively make a difference from a command chair. The Star Trek universe is filled with intricate timelines, dynamic characters, and leadership hierarchies that often spark lively debates among fans. One such debate stems from a seemingly innocuous line in the 1994 movie Star Trek Generations, which inadvertently set the stage for Catherine Janeway's promotion to Admiral before Jean-Luc Picard. While Janeway's ascension to the rank of Admiral was officially depicted in Star Trek Nemesis, it was a line spoken by Captain Kirk in Generations that retroactively cemented her status as a superior officer in the timeline. To understand how this happened, it's crucial to first examine the scene in Star Trek Generations. Early in the film, a young Lieutenant Pavel Chekhov scrambles to prepare for the launch of the USS Enterprise B. In the chaos, Captain Kirk muses about the evolving nature of Starfleet and its growing fleet of vessels. Among the dialogue, there's a key moment where Kirk discusses his legacy and comments on how captains may one day have a shorter command tenure than he did. This offhand remark about shifting Starfleet traditions, while seemingly trivial, planted the seed for how Starfleet would handle promotions in the 24th century. In Star Trek: The Next Generation (TNG), we see Picard as a steadfast captain of the Enterprise D for over a decade. Despite his impeccable record, wisdom, and heroism, Picard seemed content to remain in the captain's chair. His reluctance to pursue promotion speaks volumes about his character. He valued hands-on exploration and direct leadership over bureaucratic roles. On the other hand, Janeway, introduced in Star Trek: Voyager, took a more ambitious approach. She frequently demonstrated a strategic mindset that aligned with Starfleet's broader goals and policies, often positioning herself as an ideal candidate for higher command. The interplay of these two captains' career trajectories is where Kirk's line becomes significant. By implying that Starfleet's structure was becoming more dynamic and fluid, Kirk set the narrative groundwork for captains like Janeway to rise through the ranks more swiftly. When Janeway was promoted to Admiral following her return from the Delta Quadrant in Voyager's series finale, Endgame, her promotion came across as logical and well-earned. However, this also led to some confusion among fans. How did Janeway become an admiral while Picard remained a captain even after decades of service? Part of the explanation lies in Starfleet's evolving priorities. By the 24th century, Starfleet's mission had expanded beyond exploration to include diplomacy, defense, and intergalactic governance. These changing priorities necessitated a shift in leadership styles. Janeway's experiences in the Delta Quadrant showcased her ability to adapt to unpredictable circumstances, make tough decisions under pressure, and maintain morale among her crew despite isolation and adversity. These qualities likely made her an ideal candidate for an admiral's role, as her insights into uncharted territories and unconventional challenges provided Starfleet with a unique strategic asset. In contrast, Picard's focus remained on the ideals of exploration and the human condition. As a captain, Picard embodied the philosophical core of Starfleet, emphasizing diplomacy, ethical dilemmas, and the pursuit of knowledge. While these attributes made him a celebrated figure within Starfleet, they also reflected his reluctance to ascend to a role that would distance him from the day-to-day command of a starship. Generations indirectly highlighted this distinction, as Picard's character arc often emphasized his attachment to personal autonomy and his starship as a metaphorical family. By the time Star Trek: Nemesis was released in 2002, Janeway's promotion had been solidified in canon, with her appearance as an admiral in her brief interaction with Picard. This moment not only confirmed her rank, but also underscored how Starfleet's leadership structure had evolved since Kirk's era. It was no longer a question of tenure or longevity. Instead, promotions reflected adaptability, vision, and the needs of Starfleet at a given time. Moreover, Kirk's line in Generations can be interpreted as a subtle nod to the idea that leadership in Starfleet is not a one-size-fits-all concept. Captains like Kirk and Picard, who cherished the front lines of exploration, could coexist with leaders like Janeway, who embraced strategic roles within Starfleet Command. This diversity in leadership styles ensured that Starfleet remained flexible and capable of addressing a wide array of challenges. Ultimately, Kirk's seemingly offhand comment about the changing nature of Starfleet foreshadowed the organizational shifts that would later shape the careers of Picard and Janeway. While Picard remained true to his calling as a captain, Janeway's trajectory reflected the dynamic and evolving priorities of Starfleet in the 24th century. This divergence not only highlighted their unique qualities, but also showcased the depth and complexity of Star Trek's narrative universe.